Ah, the 21st century. The sort of brilliant but also completely awful time in which we all live. Smartphones and Star Wars, and top knots and him. It's all relative. One notable area of contention in modern times is the so-called cotton wool state. Health and safety gone mad, you'll hear people cry every time they see so much as a railing. Well, Grandad, maybe we could rein it in a little bit, but there's no denying that things are infinitely better than they once were. If there's one thing that can be said about the 21st century, it's that we're significantly better at not inadvertently killing ourselves than we were even 50 years ago. I'm Peter from WhatCulture.com, and here are the top 10 deadly things people used to think were harmless. Number 10. Brandy for the baby. The 19th century old wives' tale goes that doting parents might be able to quieten a teething baby by rubbing brandy into its gums, and for once the old wives might actually be onto something. Paediatricians have known for many years now that even small amounts of alcohol can cause enormous problems with babies' blood sugar levels and respiration, so yes, brandy will definitely stop a baby from crying sooner or later. The issue lies in the fact that it might never cry again. Number 9. Asbestos. Asbestos is as old as the hills. People were making pots out of it way back in 2500 BC. However, it wasn't until the Industrial Revolution that it became a household name. The Victorians used it to make paper, textiles, building materials, fireproofing, car parts, and even cigarette filters. It became apparent in the early 20th century, however, that it was causing both lung cancer and a lovely respiratory condition that came to be known as asbestosis. Beautiful. The long and short of it is that asbestos may well have saved a number of lives with its flame retardant properties, but it certainly did a great job of balancing things out in the end. Number 8. Goat gonads. This is John Romulus Brinkley, a man who in 1912 bought a fake medical degree and went on to make millions with a completely unfounded surgical procedure intended to cure impotence in men. From 1918, Brinkley performed dozens of operations centered around transplanting a pair of goat's testicles into an infertile man. Medicine, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, you don't need a fake doctorate from Kansas City Eclectic Medical University to guess that the goat gonads were invariably rejected by the patient's body, and multiple people died of septicemia as a result, which, to put it lightly, is a major balls up. Number 7. Alum bread. In 17th century England, people were big into potassium aluminium sulfate, or alum, and who could blame them? Look at that stuff. One of its major uses was as an additive that made bread look lovely and white, which was something of a novelty at the time. Unfortunately though, it took them far too long to realise that it also happened to kill children by causing chronic diarrhea, which is quite the price to pay for nice golden toast. Nowadays, we use it in fire extinguishers and to remove the moisture from taxidermised animals, so, you know, probably not something we should have ever been adding to baked goods. Just a thought. Number 6. Bloodletting. As far back as 1000 BC, assorted quacks have held the risible belief that too much blood can be bad for you. A medieval doctor might have treated almost any medical complaint by fetching a knife, cutting a limb or two, and letting out some of that bad blood. Naturally, there's actually not a great deal to be said for needlessly opening up one of your patients and bleeding them like a radiator. Invariably, patients would feel nauseous and lightheaded, or, at worst, die of infection or blood loss. Obviously. Number 5. Radium. The human body is far from a perfectly designed, well-oiled machine. You need only ask an appendicitis patient. A case in point is that when we ingest radium, the body tends to misidentify it as calcium and helpfully place it inside your bones, where it sits there doing little more than being radioactive and carcinogenic. So unfortunately for the people of the early 20th century, using it in toothpaste, drinking water, chocolate and suppositories proved to be a major misstep. Bone cancer for all. Number 4. Smoking. Cigarettes are bad for you, so listen to your mother. We all know that they cause cosmetic damage, heart problems, and issues with your oral health, and that in the end they'll probably wind up giving you cancer. Unfortunately for pre-1950s children though, mothers across the globe were as convinced as everyone else that a ciggy a day kept the doctor away. Ad campaigns that were actually endorsed by qualified physicians, insisted that cigarettes made you skinny, helped you sleep, and sobered you up, if, for example, you drank too much of your baby's teething brandy. Number 3. Hatting. Mad as a hatter is a simile that was first used in the mid-1800s, denoting the fact that someone is a little bit loopy.
Just show you what I'm supposed to do.
But what does it actually mean? Well, this is mercury, famous for two things: being in thermometers and being really bad for you if it ever gets out of the thermometer. Sadly, that second little detail wasn't discovered until well after 17th century hat makers began using it to make felt from animal fur. The vapours they were periodically exposed to led to muscle tremors, delirium, pathological shyness, and early on onset dementia, hence the phrase, and the fact that we hardly use mercury for anything anymore.
Don't let's be silly.
Number 2. Lead paint. Lead-based pigments date back to 400 BC, and over the subsequent millennia, were used to paint everything from fences to babies' cots. They came in assorted colours and were both durable and washable, so they basically ticked all the boxes. It's just a shame that they also, caused lead poisoning, the symptoms of which include bone problems, anemia, seizures, confusion, and eventual death. Worse still, it reportedly tastes quite sweet, causing children to repeatedly stick lead-painted toys in their mouths. So that'll be one box it doesn't really tick then. Number 1. Arsenic. Arsenic needs no introduction. It kills you. We know this. Even in low doses, it can cause serious kidney and liver damage. So when the Victorians started using it to colour green sweets, they were asking for trouble. Further to that, some Victorian ladies started mixing arsenic compounds with chalk and vinegar and chugging the lot like some sort of 19th century neck nomination. Their intention was to give themselves a paler complexion, as a tan would imply that you worked out in the fields. Sadly, the resultant organ damage, vomiting, convulsions and coma eventually led the ladies to an early death, where, ironically, they probably looked a damn sight paler than they'd hoped. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.